channel. As you can see, this is as professional as always. Nah, that's a joke. That was a joke, actually. I have been plagued with problems with my streaming platform. No, everything is right. Everything is correct. Everything is working. You can see me on the screen. You can see me watching Twitch. Let's flip to the House of Commons. Because, of course, let me wipe my eyes. I just feel so tired today. And my eyes, like, I feel like I smoked a kilogram of weed yesterday or something like that. And I did not smoke a kilogram of weed. I feel that exhausted. It's like, I feel so sluggish. Maybe I just need more. Maybe I just need more coffee. You know, I don't know. And to be honest, this is not why we're here. We're not here to talk about my energy levels. We are here to monitor the energy levels of the House of Commons to check up on this country's most disingenuous bastards. Oh, look at this twat. See what I mean? This is why we're here. We've started hot today. We've already used a twat. That's the last twat I'm going to say today. I will not say twat again on this stream, okay? That was the last time I will say twat. I don't care how much of a twat someone looks, how much of a twat someone acts, I will not be saying the word twat again. Okay, so, as per always, we are here to watch Prime Minister's questions. It is the weekly session of rhetorical bullshit that comes from the hub of British politics, Westminster. At the moment, what have we got happening just now? Let me pull up the order paper. You can see it there, but I'm not really paying attention to it. At the moment, we are watching oral questions to the Minister for Women and Equalities. So yeah, there's some of the questions there. I'm not sure what point they're at, but there's 10 minutes to go until the main event. There's 10 minutes until Prime Minister's questions starts. And I just seen Andrew Bowie there, so we are obviously at this question by Leah Nick E. I've never heard of that person ever. Half of these people I've never heard of, let's be fair. I mean, what's going to be happening today at Prime Minister's questions is anyone's guess. Let me get a thing up. Let's try and find the news. What's Kieth been saying? I guess we should see what Kier's been up to, because I've not checked the news this morning at all. Like, I just can't be asked with politics. Like, I can't obviously be asked with politics. I still follow politics quite a lot. But some of the stuff just now just does my head clean in. Like, the amount of bollocks that's coming through our TV screens and, like, being just hammered into our heads at the moment is ridiculous. One thing I have noticed, I just want to talk about this first of all. I've actually got a few things I want to talk about first of all. And whilst I've got the platform, let's do about it. So, first of all, there's a worrying trend developing with government rhetoric, right? So, I mean, we're all used to this by now. We know that instead of blaming themselves and taking blame for what they've done with COVID-19, they blamed the youth. Then they blamed the public for going out and breaking the rules, even though everyone's complying. And, you know, so on. Every so often, the government will change who they are blaming for COVID-19 and for the spread of COVID-19 through society. This week, it seems to have taken quite a disturbing turn, because all the rhetoric we're hearing about people not wanting to take the vaccine is being aimed at the BAME communities. And this seems to be the top bit of conservative rhetoric at the moment, is that BAME people are not taking the vaccine and hence they are to blame for the virus spreading through society. And like, this is bullshit. This is just cast iron racist rhetoric. It's post-racist rhetoric. I mean, it's post-racist rhetoric is something I studied last year. I had to get my years right. Was it last year or was it the year before? Fuck, 2020 was such a waste of a year. Regardless, I studied post-racial rhetoric for a dissertation I was writing. It's a really interesting topic. I would say to anyone, if you're interested in political rhetoric and how politicians structure and form arguments, then check this out, because it's very, very handy and it breaks down a lot of stuff into the racist elements that's being used within it and how they're being used. For instance, let's look at this whole vaccine thing, right? Let's say we had a government and they just wanted to blame, let's say the government was a lot more racist than they were, and they just wanted to make everything into a reason to hate black people or hate Asian people or hate people from Norway or, anyone, just really, really ethno. They just wanted, I can't remember what the term is off the top of my head. I am tired. But I digress. Now, instead of being overtly racist to people because, it's abhorrent and it doesn't work and people are never going to vote for people that are saying, throw the blacks out of the country. You know what I mean? That's just, they're never going to say that. So what they do instead is, or like if they want to say, see, the piss problem's going to the dogs because of that black communities over there or those Asian communities over there, they'll never say that because that's bad. That's like really, really bad. That's almost on the level of like inciting racial hatred. So what politicians do, and I mean this is spread through political activists and discourse and everything now, they will use post-rhetoric, post-race rhetoric, post-sex rhetoric, post-gender rhetoric. It can work with anything. Post-race is a popular one that's used within politics. Now, instead of blaming the groups directly, they will find reasons to throw questions at them. For instance, COVID-19 is a great example of this, right? We'll go back 3 years. A great example of this, and this is one that many people have fell foul to that are not racist, is being angry about people from Eastern Europe coming to the UK, right? It's a hot topic. It's always been a hot topic for years. Now, instead of just saying outright, instead of people just saying outright, I don't like people from Eastern European, I think they should go home, I think this country should be for Britain, they will start to build arguments around it. They'll be like, those Eastern Europeans, they cause a lot of crime, It's like, the smell. Like, they create a lot of trouble. They never, you know what I mean? They'll just make silly little reasons to distrust them or dislike them or just to slander their character. Some of them might be true, they might not be true. If they are true, I mean, it's the same as true for everyone else. Everyone pretty much acts the same on this planet. Like, the differences that people see are mostly spin and stuff like that. I just think that I don't think there's much difference. I'm not going to get into my theorem on race relations in this stream. So that's not what we're here for. But I just wanted to say a quick little bit about like post-race rhetoric, because I'm starting to see it being used from our government and from our government opposition in relation to COVID-19. Now, yeah, it may be that there's communities that are not taking the virus, that don't want to take the virus for whatever reason, but I think you have to be a bit more tactful in this. I think they should be careful about how they are framing their arguments just now, because by going on TV and saying, well, there's a big problem with the BAME communities not taking up the COVID-19 vaccine, that just gives your racist assholes, all these twats that are just wanting to find any reason to be racist and attack people from BAME communities, it just gives them license to attack. And they will attack, because that's what they do. I think this is something that government should, I'm going to say government should think about this and get a hold, but they don't care. They're doing this deliberately because it passes the blame. Government are happy to use post-rhetoric because it throws blame away from them. It's like, take the blame. Everyone gets the blame. I just wanted to get that off the top of my chest. By the way, why the fuck was Kier Starmer in a pub the other day? I thought pubs were closed. I just wanted to say that because I've got that picture on my screen here. What the fuck's with that? So, I mean, we've got a few minutes left. I'm just going to turn this channel over. So, if by doing this I get like a 30-second heads up of when Prime Minister's Questions is going to start. So I've got another 3 minutes to go. So in this 3 minutes I have left, I've got one more little thing I wanted to get off my chest. So we're going back to the beautiful, beautiful topic of rhetoric. The topic of rhetoric and rhetorical theory is one of my favourite media topics there is. I love rhetoric. I love studying it. I love looking at how it's used, and I love looking at the effects it can and cannot have. Right? Oh, hello, doggo. Now, in the study of rhetoric, obviously you've got to go back to Aristotle and all the other sort of people. But if you go all the way back to Aristotle, rhetoric can be broken down into 3 different parts, 3 elements. Logos, pathos, ethos. That is, basically, what that means is that all arguments that are made are usually broken down into 3 topics. You've got like the emotional arguments, like emotion, guilt. You know what I mean. Arguments and persuasion that is framed from a perspective of like emotions. You've got credence, personal power, name power, and you've got like books, studied science and stuff like that. So that's the 3 parts: logos, ethos, pathos. I now think it is time for a fourth element of rhetoric to be added. I'm considering making a video about this. I've not made any actual long-form videos in so long, so I might do this. I don't know. I've maybe just told people what I'm planning on doing earlier, and I should have said nothing. But that's that. Now, I think the rhetorical triangle should be turned into a rhetorical square. And I know that some people might think that sounds ridiculous, but hear me out. Oh, by the way, to everyone in the chat, hello there. We've got John Doe as King. What's up? We've got Broken Bottle Boy. What's up? If to everyone else in the chat, say hello. Say hello. You can use the Palpatine meme. I've got emotes now, but I'm going to try and wrap this, what I was thinking of there, up, right? In 2021, I feel we need to add a fourth point to the rhetorical triangle. I think the triangle of rhetoric needs to become a square. Now, I think that what needs to be added is simulacra. I can't remember who termed the word. It's from a postmodern theorist. It is not an ancient word from the Aristotelian world, but I think it's the world that it's the perfect word for this. It's the perfect term, because the simulacra is like simulation, simulated reality, hyper reality, and that's what the fourth part is. For instance, look at Trump. China virus is a classic example of this simulacra. That argument's just based on internet bullshit. You know what I mean? It's not based on any sort of arguments. I mean, yeah, you could argue that bodyguard, that's the fucker, man. Sorry, I am so bad with names. I am so bad at remembering names, and it really trips me up in situations like this. Yeah, bodyguard. Read about him. The guy's genius. And yeah, it's like we now get a form of rhetoric, a form of persuasion that is based in internet bullshit. It's not based in any sort of reality. It's not based in proper credence. It's not based on emotion. It's not based on facts. It's just based on internet bullshit, hyper reality, simulation, simulacra. So, I don't know. I might turn this into a video. I might expand on this a bit longer, because I've got quite a few examples of the simulated reality being used for rhetorical gain. And I believe Prime Minister's questions is about to start. So, I'm fumbling about for remote controls here. We'll get that turned down. Here we go. Let's get my pause button, the magic pause button.
I shall have further such meetings later today.
Mr. Speaker. Over the last week, thousands of people across Frankly Great Park and South Northfield have done what...
South Northfield? Fucking hell, there's a confusing place name. South Northfield. Like, it's like Upper Duck's Bottom.
Would the Prime Minister join me
so this is Gary Sambrook.
Dr. Justin Varney and Councillor Simon Morrell and Birmingham City Council for everything they've done to be able to scale up mass testing across Frankly Great Park, and encourage anyone who hasn't had a test so far to get one at one of the designated sites?
Get a test.
Yes, indeed, Mr.
So I would say that was a written question. He's just telling people to get a test. So just Fields. Wait, what? Fields?
Surge testing in the way that he describes.
Is this another name I forgot?
And indeed, throughout the country, to get a vaccine when you're asked to do so.
Let's come to the Leader of the Opposition.
Oh, here we go.
Mr. Speaker, can I begin by thanking everybody involved in the vaccine rollout? We've now vaccinated,
so he's
12.6 million people. We're on course to vaccinate the first 4 priority groups by the end of this week. That's a truly amazing achievement. Can the Prime Minister confirm today
I've got you. Just the field, yeah.
Will extend
Middlefield.
business rate relief beyond March.
Aberdeen 31st. Actually has business rates relief. Business rates relief. Are you fucking serious?
I'm glad to hear him.
So Kier Starmer has started on business rates relief. He wants businesses to be relieved of having to pay rates.
Join in praise of the vaccine rollout, which is indeed, I think, a tribute to the NHS.
Yeah, Theo, I believe they do cancel each other out.
The volunteers and many others. And on his point about the...
By the way, everyone, do you like the green light in the background?
Business rate relief.
I can change it. I thought it was good being green.
People, livelihoods throughout the pandemic. That is what we will continue to do. But he should wait until the budget for the Chancellor.
Oh, we're actually getting a budget. Is it just going to be a financial statement this time, or what? We've had like 6 budgets in the last 12 months, and they've all had different sorts of weird names.
Explain exactly what we're going to do.
Mr. Speaker, I think that answer was that the Prime Minister can't give an answer yet. but hundreds of thousands of businesses
Eye
are
rolls.
affected by this. And the trouble is, Mr. Speaker, that businesses don't work as slowly
So
as the Prime
Kieth
Minister.
is going with
They need an
businesses.
answer now. As the British Chamber of Commerce says,
Businesses.
simply
Fucking
can't
hell, this
wait
guy's just
until
trying to win
March
hearts and
budget.
minds, isn't he?
Let me try
Businesses.
another vitally important question for businesses and for millions
Oh, here
of
we go.
working
Question.
people. Can the Prime Minister confirm today that the furlough scheme will be extended beyond April?
Okay, that's a good question. Is the furlough scheme going to be extended beyond
October,
October, November, whatever it
Very
is?
serious pandemic in which rates of infection have been steadily brought down thanks to the efforts of the rich people. I think also members of
Efforts
House
of the
familiar,
rich people. Did he say
with
just the
the
efforts?
notion
Wait, fucking.
that in just a few
Did he
days
just say
we will
thanks
be
to the
setting out
efforts of the
rates
rich?
of infection have been steadily brought down thanks to the efforts of the rich people. I think also members of this
Oh, he
House
said
familiar,
British people. He just says
with
the
notion
British
that
people.
in just a few
Efforts of
days
the British
we'll be
people.
setting out
Well,
a
that was a good
roadmap
question,
for the way
though.
out of this pandemic, a roadmap that I hope the right honourable gentleman
Should be quite a simple answer to this, like, yes. Yes.
Mr. Speaker.
Why does he keep putting? He always does this. Puts stuff in his pocket
but
while
he won't have to
talking.
contain himself for very long.
No answer.
Kier Starmer.
Mr. Speaker,
No
let me
answer.
let the Prime Minister into a secret. He can take decisions for himself. He doesn't need to leave everything to 11
Okay, finally Keith has got a joke that I laughed at. Well done, Keith.
Businesses will support you now. We'll protect jobs now. Because the CBI, the Federation of Small Businesses, the Institute of Directors and the British Chamber of Commerce have all said the same thing. They all say, Prime Minister, they can't wait until the budget.
Yeah, people would
Prime Minister
actually
may
like to know what the
disagree with
fuck's
me,
going on.
but
I
he's
don't think that's
actually
unfair to
disagreeing with
ask.
businesses. Why does the Prime Minister think he knows better than British business?
Because he's an idiot. Like,
Mr.
fuck,
Speaker,
straight
I
up.
think that most
I mean,
business people that I've
Lest we forget, this is Boris fuck business Johnson, eh? Or we're going to just overlook that?
talked to a great many in the
I mean, Kier could really land a blow and own the media for the day by just saying, Boris, what happened? Do you still think we should fuck business, quote unquote? If he dropped that in
last 12
Parliament,
months would agree
media would
that
go
there is
nuts.
no
Keith would
government around
actually
the world
win
that
some
has
support
done
for a
more
change,
to
but he
support
won't, because he's a
business,
fucking
wrapping
wet
our
wipe.
arms around business. And actually, I'm delighted to hear this enthusiasm for business from the Labour Party.
I mean, that was behind him that noise was coming from. That wasn't coming from the Labour side.
The last election, and indeed to dismantle the very pharmaceutical industry, Mr. Speaker, that has provided
What?
the vaccine.
Dismantle the pharmaceutical-
Will you now repudiate that policy, Mr. Speaker?
Repudiate? Fucking
Kier
hell.
Starmer.
Mr. Speaker, we all know what the Prime Minister once said he wanted to do to business.
Fucking
We on these
go there.
businesses would
Do it.
rather listen to
Do it.
businesses.
Say it. Say it. Say
So
fuck
we've
business.
no
Stop being a
decision
wet
on
wipe.
business rates, no decision on furlough.
I'm in his
Let's
mind.
try another crucial issue.
I'm in his mind.
And Prime Minister, no excuse for delaying this time, because this has to be decided.
Why
before
did
the
he?
March budget.
He should have just
And the
said
Prime
fuck
Minister
business
doesn't
and put
need
it
to
in,
check with the
on the
Chancellor.
record. That would have been hilarious.
So will the Prime Minister now commit to extending?
I mean, there's no
the
rules against
evictions
not
ban
swearing.
on residential property
Eviction
beyond
ban, right?
February
Another
the
good
21st?
question. Good stuff, Kier. I don't know why you had to go through all that business crap to get to it, but that was a good question.
That what we will do in this government and throughout this pandemic is put our arms.
Yeah,
around
exactly.
the
Just
British
say
people
it.
and support them throughout the pandemic.
Drop the
and make
F-bomb
sure
in
that
the
people
House
are
of
not
Commons.
unfairly evicted during the pandemic. That is what we will do. What I hope.
Okay, so he just
is
actually
we may
said
hear
that he
from
would
the
keep
right
that going.
honourable gentleman
So-
opposite that he not only has now had a Damascene.
I hope everyone just picked up on what he said there, because Boris just pretty much said that they were going to keep going with the ban on evictions. Let's see if it actually comes to pass in the next few weeks. And yeah, is it too much to ask to want a politician to say fuck in the House of Commons?
Conversion to supporting all the government's policies to support businesses rather than sniping from the sidelines. Why doesn't he just get behind
What, you
us
mean
and
rather
back
than
the government,
throwing your
back us
quotes
in
back
our
at you,
efforts
you
to
fucking
back
clown?
business and back the British people?
Oh, now it's back business. Come on. Kier, please say it.
Kier Starmer.
It's an open goal.
Mr. Speaker,
Take
I'm
it.
not going to take lectures from a man
Say
who
it.
wrote 2 versions of every column he ever wrote as a journalist, who proposed Donald Trump for a Nobel Peace Prize and gave Dominic Cummings
Keith
a pay
is
rise.
actually winning today, I would say.
Back to the question.
Keith is actually burying
Another
him.
area where the Prime Minister
He's even laughing himself. This is
So
a
now changing
rare win
policy
for
pretty
Keith.
well every day is securing our borders against variants of COVID.
Oh, okay. I thought he was about to say
Every
about
week the
fucking
Prime Minister
immigrants.
comes
Jesus,
here
how
and
my
says,
heart skipped
"We've
a
got
beat
one
there.
of the toughest
Thought he was about to do a
regimes in
racism.
the world. We know his Home Secretary disagrees with him. We know the Health Secretary disagrees with him.
Oh.
Luckily, Mr. Speaker,
Yeah, I know,
Oxford
but-
University keep track of how tough
That's
border
what hanging out in
restrictions are
that
every
pub does to you.
country.
Gives you some fucking fire.
They say that there are at least 33 countries around the world which currently have tougher restrictions than the United Kingdom. 33, Prime Minister, including Canada, Denmark, Japan, Israel. There are many others. In fact, they say we're not even in the top bracket of countries for border restrictions.
Who would have thought
50
it?
days.
Who would have thought
we
it?
first discovered the South African variant. 50 days.
Never mind the South African variant. It's been over a year since we first discovered COVID-19 in the UK, and they've just closed the fucking borders. Like, what the fuck? What the shit? And Theo,
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Theo, I'm just gonna pause that there. I was gonna be like, oh, it's a border question, but this is actually a good question, although I think it's a year too late.
There are some countries in Europe that do not even have a hotel quarantine scheme such as the one we're putting in on Monday.
For shame. Yeah, but they probably just don't let people in the country.
In the world. People should understand that on a normal day, Mr. Speaker, at this time of year, you could expect about 250,000 people to be arriving in this country.
Well, they shouldn't be.
Down to about 20,000, 5,000 of them
they shouldn't be
bringing vital things into this country,
man.
such as medicines and food.
Yeah, right. People driving trucks and flying planes with cargo into the UK has little to do with the 250,000 people he just talked about.
Discussed last week, and he agreed that was a
people
good
driving
idea,
trucks
Mr.
drive home.
Speaker.
You know,
unless he actually wants to cut this country off from the rest of the world, which I think last week he said
it would be a good idea.
Unless, of course, he changed his mind.
We're already the
again.
plague island. We may as well fucking commit.
Policy is measured. It is
fucking go full bore on the plague island shit.
I hope that he supports it.
Kier Starmer.
Mr. Speaker, the truth is this.
Oh, the truth.
Prime Minister is failing to give security to British businesses, and he's failing to secure our borders. The Prime Minister often complains that we never put forward constructive proposals.
Oh, are we going to get a constructive proposal?
Support businesses and protect jobs now by extending furlough, business rate relief,
furlough now.
VAT cuts for hospitality.
Okay, that's fair enough.
And second, secure our borders with a comprehensive hotel quarantine on arrival.
Comprehensive.
No more delays. Will he do it?
Will he do it? I'm on the verge of giving today's session to Kier on this, because he's been pretty strong today, and the Prime Minister has been looking stupid. He's been very concise. He just said, "Look, do it." I now expect Kieth to throw something stupid, but Boris to start. I expect some desk thumping.
Mr. Speaker, we've just announced the quarantine policy, which, as I've said to the House, is amongst the toughest.
Fuck off, Boris. It should have happened a year ago.
Than most other European countries, certainly. I'm delighted that he's now supporting business in his latest stunt of bandwagoneering. Not a policy for which he was famous.
He should have said
before,
fuck
Mr.
business.
Speaker.
He would have buried him.
He moves from one side
right in the back,
in the debate,
metaphorically, of course.
This crisis, and some
I don't
people,
condone
Mr. Speaker,
violence.
some people have said that this is a good crisis, Mr. Speaker. Some people have said this is a good crisis.
Yeah, securing the borders is a worrying phrase. I will. I
agree
agree with
a
that.
gift that keeps on giving, Mr. Crisis. Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Crisis. Fucking idiot. What an idiot. Mr. Crisis.
On the Labour front bench. I think it is disgraceful that they should say those things. I believe this is one of the biggest challenges we've faced since the Second World War. And thanks to one of the fastest vaccine rollouts.
Now, see, I was talking about the rhetorical triangle before we got to here. What he just did there was a perfect example of using emotional bullshit in an argument. He's like, I am disgraced. It's like as if they've just done something really abhorrent. It's like, no, all they did was ask him to do things for people. He is such a baby. That was, I mean, that outburst by Boris there was fucking embarrassing. Like, that was really embarrassing. Theo says he is such a baby. I agree with that. That was fucking pathetic. Like, he could have just said, yes, we're going to do that sort of stuff, but instead he just went, bluster, meh. You're a disgrace. I'm offended. I'm emotionally offended by you. Like, what a twat. Like, what an actual fake-haired, wiggy twat. That's my best diss for him today. Let's move on. Julian Smith, what are you saying, you waste of space?
Despite that success, it is vital that programme keeps pace with the changing variants. Can he update the House on where the UK stands on ensuring that the UK supply chain is in place and that we don't get behind as the virus mutates?
Okay, so simple question by Julian Smith. How are the supplies going with vaccine and how will they keep going? Do we get an answer
My
to
right
this?
honourable friend asked an extremely important question.
Indeed,
and
extremely
that's
important.
why we recently announced an agreement for 50 million doses with the manufacturer CureVac, because
CureVac?
we believe
Who
that
the
that
fuck's
may
that?
help us to develop vaccines that can respond at scale to new variants.
What the fuck does that mean? They want to develop a vaccine that can respond in scale. How's that? What? How's that possible? How can a vaccine scale itself up? The fuck?
From the Chief Medical Officer and the Deputy Chief Medical Officer and others, I think we're going to have
Do
to
you
get
trust
used,
the Chief
to
Medical
the
Officer
idea
now? 'Cause
of-
I fucking don't.
Vaccinating and then revaccinating in the autumn as we come to
Revaccinating
face,
in
these new
autumn. It's not
variants.
even been a year, mate.
Let's
What
head
the
up to
fuck?
Skye and Lochaber with SNP leader
It's actually at Lochaber, you fucking dolt.
Ian Blackford.
It's Lochaber, not
thank
what
you,
he
Mr.
said.
Speaker.
Oh, and
New research
as we
from-
can see, Ian Blackford has a lovely pink tint today. He is loving the pink tint as usual.
The Joseph Rowntree Foundation and the baby bank charity Little Village has revealed that 1.3 million
Oh, we can get rid
children
of that.
under
Boopy
5
doo,
are
boopy
living in
doo.
poverty in the United Kingdom. This is a truly shocking figure that should make this Tory government utterly ashamed. The Scottish National Party has repeatedly called for a financial package to boost household incomes and reverse this Tory child poverty crisis. The Prime Minister has the power to tackle child poverty right now by making the £20 uplift to universal credit permanent and by extending it to legacy benefits.
Keith should have went with this question as well. I don't know why Kier left this question out. He
Will
spoke
the
about
Prime
everything else,
Minister
but not
finally
universal
act?
credit.
Or will he leave millions of children out in the cold?
Oh, see, this is a perfect example of the emotional rhetoric. Will you leave the children to go hungry?
Minister.
Mr.
Prime
Speaker,
Minister.
I think that the whole House in this country should be proud of the way we've tried to look after people, the poorest and neediest.
It's a good question. It's a fair one. It's like, why the fuck are you not paying people enough money?
Universal credit, which the party opposite would actually abolish, Mr.
Right, we're just going to stop that there. He just said that the party opposite would abolish universal credit. Then he ends his statement there. He's trying to assert that if Labour were in power, they would stop universal credit and no one would get anything. That's a lie. Labour want to stop universal credit and give people a universal basic income. That means anyone, whether on a benefit or not, would get the same money. It's totally different from stopping universal credit. Universal credit's a broken system. It's fucking stupid.
Vulnerable people with their
Doesn't
food
help
and
people.
Their heating bills, the £170 million winter grant scheme, looking after people.
That means nothing.
With the free school.
What's
meal
170
vouchers.
million
And
divided by
as I said
66
before, Mr.
million?
Speaker, we all put our arms around the people of
Do
this
you
entire
fuck?
country throughout the pandemic.
The last person's arms I want round me is
Return
that
to Scotland with the
fat waste of spaces.
I have to say, Mr. Speaker, that was pathetic. That was
I
no
agree.
answer. We're talking about 1.3 million children under 5 in poverty. Let me quote.
No, yeah, you're right. It's technically
"She
not a
cried on
lie,
her
but it's
doorstep because
wildly
I gave her
misleading.
nappies, wipes,
That's
and
how
winter
rhetoric
clothes
works,
for a
right?
child. I went
Rhetoric is not about telling lies or just saying something is what it is. Rhetoric is persuasion. Rhetoric is about persuading people to take your side, not about telling people a fact.
away with a lump.
And
in
yeah,
my
you're
throat.
right. That's why they use it like
These are
that.
the
It's
words
to
of
persuade
Emily,
people that he's
a
telling the
baby bank
truth
worker
by
who's
using something
supporting
that's
families that
a
the
small bit
Tories have
true
pushed into poverty
and turning
through
it
a
into
decade of
fact.
cuts. They don't need more empty words from a Prime Minister who simply doesn't care enough to act.
Correct?
Mr. Speaker, this morning a new report from Citizen Advice Scotland warned that Tory cuts could reduce the value of universal credit by as much as a quarter just when people need this money the most. Will the Prime Minister agree to meet with me and other opposition parties ahead of the budget for
Will
an
he
urgent
help?
summit on tackling child poverty, or will he be yet another
Why can we
Tory
not-
Prime Minister who leaves a generation of children languishing in poverty?
Will you leave kids languishing in poverty,
Mr.
Boris?
Speaker, I must say that I reject entirely what the right honourable gentleman
What a twat.
has just said, because I don't believe that any government could have done more to help the people of this country
What?
throughout this pandemic, and we will continue to do so.
He just said the government couldn't have done more. That is a absolute lie. Government could have done a million things better.
And yes, of course, we bitterly lament and
Bitterly?
reject the poverty that some families unquestionably suffer.
Do you
and
fuck?
It is, and it is tragic that too many families have had a very, very tough time during this pandemic. But we will continue to support them in all the ways that we have set up. But I may say to the right honourable, there is a profound philosophical difference between him and me. Because the Scottish Nationalist Party is
it's National Party,
ever more a left-wing party that believes that...
Right, first, it's the Scottish National Party, not Nationalist. We do this every fucking week. Second, the SNP is far from left-wing. They are far from left-wing. They are much more neoliberal than they are left-wing. They've got like maybe 2 left-wing members. They are not a left-wing in the slightest. They are not the left in the slightest. And even then, sorry, what does that even mean? Is the left somehow bad? Sorry, is campaigning for people's rights bad now? No, fucking idiots, man.
Mr. Speaker,
they annoy me so much.
That it is the duty of the taxpayer to pay for more and more and more.
It's not. The press. It's not that they don't just give a fuck. They're complicit in hiding it. What's he doing?
That the Scottish Nationalist Party is, I'm afraid,
he needs to stop this.
Prime Minister,
here we go.
Fucking
finally.
Teasing him, and we're trying to wind up the leader of the SNP.
Exactly.
Please, let's drop it. Let's move on because Lee Anderson is waiting for you. Lee Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A new freeport for the East Midlands will create over 60,000 new jobs.
This is a Boris question then. Notice his camera so bleached out that it gets rid of the chat. What the fuck?
After decades of neglect from Labour MPs, we now feel a sense of hope in the Red Wall seats.
Wait, what did you... Let's hear...
Such as continental...
Let's hear that again.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. After decades of neglect from Labour MPs, we now feel a sense of hope.
After decades of neglect from Labour MPs. Dude, Tories have been in power for the last fucking decade, mate. It's your party that have done this, no one else.
My family.
What the fuck?
I have had enjoyable times.
His question's a waste of time. I don't know. He's just. This is a Boris question, basically. He was just going to ask a Boris question.
Absolutely rock solid throughout this country.
Yeah, exactly.
Liz
Savile Roberts. Plaid Cymru. Plaid Cymru.
We've just heard. The government claims to have a levelling up agenda, underpinned by a research and development roadmap.
Oh, she's reading this off the screen.
The Tories' track record on this isn't good. In fact, it's abysmal. Wales receives the lowest R&D spend per person of the 4 nations, at around 40% of spend per head in England. And Westminster's obsession with the golden triangle of Oxford, Cambridge,
the golden
and London
triangle
shows no sign of abating. Will he now commit to a fairer,
the golden triangle is the area below my belly button. That's my golden triangle.
Or is he content for Westminster's roadmap to be Wales's road to nowhere?
What even was that question?
Mr. Speaker, I'm afraid I
don't really know what she was asking there.
Down, and the people of Wales down, and the ingenuity
of
Wales down, because I think about a quarter of the airline passengers in the world are born aloft.
The parliamentary sword comes out.
By the Welsh aerospace sector, Mr. Speaker.
Shut the rhetoric down.
There's going to be one of the great centres of battery manufacturing in this country, if not the world.
Battery manufacturing. Fucking hell.
This government's plans for
stop the presses. Wales are going to be the kings of battery manufacturer. What the fuck, man?
Record spending on R&D.
Oh man, we've got someone Julian Sturdy coming up. Wait until you see the nick of this character. Jesus.
Let's head to Cheshire with Dr. Kieran Mullen. Dr. Kieran Mullen.
Mullen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
It's Mullen.
The UK
Kieran
has
Mullen.
Behind Europe
Conservative.
in the potential of geothermal heat and energy in places like.
He's got the same camera as me. He's got that same pink lip thing going on.
Build back better.
It's a Boris question. He's a stupid buzzword.
I thank my honourable friend for the excellent point he makes about Crewe and the way it's now in the forefront of deep geothermal energy exploration, and very happy to meet with him to discuss what we can do to further geothermal energy.
Geothermal energy.
Diary permitting, Mr. Speaker.
Geothermal. Fucking waste of time.
Yasmin.
The fact is that if they want renewable energy, they need to go with wind or nuclear. And nuclear is not even that renewable, but it's a lot cleaner as long as they don't fuck it up.
The Speaker.
This is Yasmin Query.
That no council would be suffering as a result of the pandemic. And the Chancellor said that he would do everything, whatever it takes to help them. Yet the Tory-controlled Bolton Council has just announced 35 million cuts in pounds.
This woman's got a unique accent. I
Increase
just
in
can't
the
place it in the
council tax
slightest.
budget for 3.8%. Can the Prime Minister assure my constituents and my town that that money will be given to them?
Where is she
or
from?
will this join a long
Bolton,
list of
what?
Tory failed promises?
I want to congratulate Mr. Speaker.
Will a lie join a list of lies? Of course it will.
For everything they're doing,
Bolton.
continue to do throughout.
I used to stay downstairs from a guy that played for Bolton, but he was like 85 at the time. Bless his cotton socks. He was a sweet old guy. He would always come home drunk and he'd lose his keys and he'd tell me to get a screwdriver and help him break into his house. He was a top bloke, so he was.
In supporting local
it was a
so
strange
far
one.
in this pandemic.
Couldn't place it. I'm not really good at placing accents. It's Saj.
Mr. Speaker, from rainforests to coral reefs, the world's ecosystems are at risk of catastrophic decline. That was the
Since when has Saj give a fuck about the planet?
Review last week, which my right honourable friend rightly welcomed. This threat to our biodiversity,
it's a moral failure.
Short-sighted too.
Short-sighted.
When I asked Professor Dasgupta to carry out this work, he told me that it would not be complete until after
Saj's cue ball napper is a thing of beauty, like.
But now, given that the summit has been delayed,
he reminds me, you see that guy with the realistic baby head face? It looks like that. His head looks like the baby head mask, just with a little Saj face.
The UK has been presented with a unique
Actually, see if you were to like,
on how we can.
Does anyone know Dragon Ball? Right, I don't know why, but if you put a pair of like, he's already got the pointy ears. He's already got the baldy head. If you painted him green and put a couple of antennae on, he would look like fucking Piccolo.
Better protect
it's
our
Piccolo Javid.
Nature.
Sajid Piccolo.
My
fucking hell. I need that. I am going to do that Photoshop. Sajid Javid is Piccolo.
The House to know that
this was a Boris question.
The UN COP26 summit to be a landmark event, not just.
I mean, I would love Saj to just ask where the Islamophobia investigation is and when it's coming. Because Boris promised that in 2019 directly to Saj.
Over the last century.
Let's head up to Oxfordshire with Layla Moran.
Oh, hide your husbands.
Thank
She'll
you,
beat
Mr.
them
Speaker.
up.
It's estimated that up to 400,000
the face of hypocritical
Lib Dem
mania.
Effects of long COVID, and some of these are NHS heroes.
I've really got no time for her.
That first wave. Nearly a year later, I've heard from a doctor who says she wonders if she'll ever be able to walk unaided again, let alone manage a full day of work. Does the Prime Minister recognise that for this group, long COVID is an occupational disease? And will he set up a compensation scheme similar to what we offer our armed forces, so that we ensure that those who have lost their livelihoods by saving lives are fully supported?
Thank the Honourable Lady, because she's right to highlight the incredible sacrifice and effort of NHS staff, many of whom...
Basically, should NHS people get compensation? Yeah, it's a no-brainer. They probably do get it already. This question's a waste of time. It's a Lib Dem question. Lib Dems are about as useless as a fart, like literal fart. I have farted things that are more useful than the Lib Dem. I could light my farts up. I could use them. I could save them up in a jar and use them as propellant for something. Lib Dems have got no use. Oh, he's on mute. Oh, here he is.
Can the Prime Minister confirm?
Can the Prime Minister confirm to me?
Back in school no later than the 8th of March.
Oh,
and commit to starting
what a bag of dicks this question is.
Straight after half term, so that the really damaging effects of being away from school are not drawn out for any longer than is absolutely necessary.
Nonsense. This is a Boris question.
I can certainly confirm that we're going to do everything we can, and I know that that's the settled will of most people in this house to get our kids, school children back.
Get our kids off school children.
Possibly can. I'll be setting out for my honourable friend as much as we can say on Monday, and then in the.
So we're getting there. Question 18 next. Question 18 of I think 26. It is. Come on, Boris, get to the fucking. He's just waffling now. Ian Mearns.
Very grateful, Mr. Speaker. Having sat on the HS2 hybrid bill committee for 15 months,
that must have been fun.
As to the economic benefits of the.
Can you imagine how happy he was to be on the on this study for fucking HS2 being an MP for Gateshead who will never get any use from it. I bet that was fun.
Project for the northeast.
The project for the
but
northeast.
HS2 is going ahead, at least in the south.
Waste of time.
It's therefore crucial that the east
yeah,
leg of
HS2.
HS2 goes ahead, not just for Yorkshire and the East Midlands, but also for
Wait,
the northeast.
What?
The Prime Minister has made repeated promises to the people of the northeast of his intention to
Are you for fucking real?
to connect and create opportunities for people here.
Is this guy for fucking real? Sorry, how much does the Tory party pay them to say that? He's in Gateshead and he's saying that HS2 is totally needed. We need to fucking waste billions and billions of money from all areas of the UK to build a fucking stupid train line that goes from London to Birmingham.
Like Gateshead.
This guy's an idiot. I don't care about his question. Let's get rid.
Mr. Speaker, I can certainly confirm that we are going to develop the eastern leg as
what
well as
a waste of a fucking question that was.
He'll be hearing a lot more about
HS fucking 2.
There is no shortage.
Oh my god. We've got a correspondent phoning in from the front line. Caroline Ansel. No, she's doing it by phone. What the fuck?
There is no shortage of commitment or compassion.
I bet this sounds horrible in the house.
Homeless people who are vulnerable and need complex support.
Yeah, this is a good question.
However,
Homeless people need support
Brighton
right now.
Continues to send its homeless to our town, and we do not have the resources to meet this need. 3 homeless people have died, and I believe there will be inquests. Brighton is not engaging with Eastbourne's council in any meaningful way, and a further 51 placements have been made in recent weeks.
Whoa, this is a nasty call.
Join with me.
This is post-homelessness rhetoric. What the actual fuck? Like earlier today, we were just talking about post-racial rhetoric. This is literally, they're now... What she just did there was ridiculously horrible. Basically, in Eastbourne, she is trying to advocate for a way to stop homeless people being sent from one area where they've run out of ways to support them to her area because her area doesn't want to deal with them. What a fucking scumbag. What the fuck? What the actual fuck?
On this as a matter of urgency.
She thinks it's urgent that homeless people don't be sent to her.
Yes, indeed, Mr. Speaker. And I thank Brighton Council and for cooperating with Eastbourne.
Wait. Boris clearly did not just listen to the question because she just very clearly said that Brighton Council were not cooperating with her. Her argument was that Brighton Council is sending homeless people to Eastbourne because they've run out of resources in Brighton. Obviously, because it's a really bad time. And she's complaining for her council because she doesn't want her area to have to deal with homeless people that can't find help anywhere else. What she just did there, she just basically did what they did in the Bible to Mary and Joseph. She is telling homeless people there is no room at the inn. That is fucking disgusting. Now, comically, Boris has not listened to the question properly because he thinks that Brighton Council is working with Eastbourne.
Council in getting this done, there must be cooperation.
No, there must just be help. Like what? This is the worst sort of NIMBYism I have ever fucking heard of. As you can probably tell by the rage I'm showing just now, I cannot believe what I just heard. I cannot believe she just asked a question where the answer was the Prime Minister agreeing with her, our area not helping people in need. Like what the actual fuck is going on with this country?
People coming out on the streets again.
Boris didn't even listen to the question properly, which is quite funny, actually.
Sent to South Wales with Geraint Davis.
Geraint Davis. Hey, Geraint.
Mr. Speaker, at DVLA in Swansea, there had been 526 cases of coronavirus since last September, when the Prime Minister told us, the Prime Minister's question time, all staff who can work from home are working from home. Yet in March last year, 250 people were working on site. Now the numbers are in their thousands, facing a more infectious and widespread disease. And yesterday,
come on, Geraint, get to the fucking point, man.
Sent home following the latest outbreak of coronavirus just before the weekend. So given that BT are on standby to install home secure technology to allow home working, will the Prime Minister meet with me and the union PCS?
You know what? I don't think he's going to want to because he'll be bored to fucking sleep. Jesus Christ.
So that workplace numbers can be reduced until the vaccine is rolled out to keep people safe and to avoid an unnecessary strike.
Mr. Speaker, I thank him for raising this again.
Yeah, Theo, I mean,
and
I don't know what that question was. I just fell asleep there. Yeah, on the last question, the Eastbourne question, there is a point. Like, councils should not be sending homeless people to other areas if they can actually give them a home or somewhere to deal, or they can use resources to help them. But if the areas have got no resources left, like they've run out of flats, they've run out of bed sets, there's no hotels that can take them, if they've just generally run out of capacity, then there's nothing wrong. That's always been the case. It'll be like, right, we can't get you something here, we can send you to that council. And I mean, I guarantee you they speak to that council before they send the people there, because we've got to, I mean, back on that homeless one, we've got to remember that these councils are not sending homeless people to Eastbourne Council without telling Eastbourne Council. They're not just telling people like, oh, right, sorry, Brighton homeless people, we understand, we've run out of room, we can't help you. Just go to that office round there and just tell them you're homeless and we've sent you. That is not what's happening. I guarantee you there's a process in place where Brighton Council are speaking to Eastbourne Council and they're like, right, we've got 2 people today, we've got no space, can you help? And Eastbourne are like, yeah, send them over, we'll get them help, we'll put them in a hotel. Because that's how the systems work. The councils won't just be sending people fucking to another area, to another town, without knowing that the space is there for them. They're not going to waste people's time like that. That's insane. That's not how the world works.
Been affected by cancer, just like my own, and know all too well that early diagnosis and treatment can save.
So there's Nicola Richards, Conservative. A lot of Conservative questions today.
70 people in my constituency and 50,000 across the UK with a missing cancer diagnosis. Cancer hasn't stopped during the pandemic. So with this in mind, will the Prime Minister commit to making the resurgence of cancer diagnosis services a top priority as restrictions?
Yeah, that's probably a good question. This shouldn't even need a question. This should just be done. No, this needs to be done.
I know this is an issue that is very close to her heart, and she's right to raise it, because we, of course, there are the pressures from COVID, but we're also worried, Mr. Speaker, that some people may not be coming forward for the cancer treatments that they need. So I'd urge everybody.
So we are almost finished here for the day.
Needs to get their treatment.
We've got what, 1, 2, 3, 4 questions.
Come forward and get your treatment as you normally would.
To the northwest with Lucy Powell.
Oh, 5 questions. Lucy Powell.
Thank
Hello,
you,
Lucy.
Mr. Speaker. The Prime Minister said in
I thought that
November
was Rachel Reeves.
that the £1.5 billion Green Homes grant would be extended to March 2020.
I like that they're like, your stream sucks, you're getting a photo.
Last week, his minister said that the money would not
That's a very
be
gummy
carried
photo.
over from this financial year to next.
I can't do that. That's a look I just
7
cannot do.
weeks to
It looks a bit like my stepmom.
A paltry £71 million has been spent so far. So why
I probably shouldn't have just said that last time, but thankfully my family don't watch this anyway. They don't support this.
Grant that he promised for businesses, homeowners, and the environment.
She's on to something, but she's barking up the wrong tree, Mr. Speaker. The problem with the Green Homes grant is not that
Barking up the wrong tree.
There hasn't been enough take up, and we want to encourage people to take it up and make use of the opportunity to reduce the carbon emission of your homes.
I said south to Sir Roger Gale. Sir Roger.
Sir Roger Gale. He looks like a Sir Roger, doesn't he?
And he's written in his foreword to the Environment White Paper that he's pledged to protect
Oh my
the
God.
countryside.
He's just been given this question. He's got
Mr.
no
Speaker,
idea what
the
he's reading.
countryside is more than just a bit of green belt around the home counties. In Westgate and Birchington and Herne Bay, in my own constituency, and indeed across much of the Garden of England.
The Garden of
there are plans to
England.
smother acres of prime agricultural land in housing
He's just-
that is not needed for local people, but that is needed and required to grow the crops to reduce the amount of food that we import at a cost of carbon emissions.
This is definitely a
So
Boris
if the Prime
question.
Minister is the friend of the countryside, will he announce an immediate
And-
moratorium on the use of all farmland for housing? While
And of course, it's just going to come to pass that Boris is the friend of the countryside, and he's actually going to give a solid answer on this question because he fucking wrote it.
reviewed.
Mr. Speaker, I think I just heard the honourable gentleman say that he wants an immediate moratorium on the construction of all housing. Maybe I misunderstood. I don't think that to be.
Yeah, you did
realistic.
misunderstand
What I
that,
can certainly
Boris, you
tell
clown.
him is that
he's not even listening today. That's 2 questions in a row he's not been paying attention to.
Communities and local government has met him and will be glad to meet him again to discuss the.
He's not even paying attention.
But
he's just speaking.
Commitment to nature and to the countryside is unmatched. We've just consecrated 30%
consecrated
of our surface, Mr. Speaker, to nature.
Consecrated. She's just making words up.
Neil Gray.
Neil Gray. Airdrie and Shots,
Thank you, Mr.
SNP.
Speaker. I had a meeting recently with the PCS about.
I think he is half asleep.
I heard from constituents in Shots and Calderbank who work for UK government departments. Both are struggling to cover over a real terms pay cut over decades. One has had to take partial early retirement so the lump sum could keep him going. What will the Prime Minister say to the Chancellor to convince him of the need to properly reward all those who have been on the front line during the COVID pandemic, and at the very least follow the Scottish Government's lead in fully funding a rise in public sector pay?
Fair question. Of course, he's not going to do it. He's just going to say something about nationalists.
We have seen above inflation increases in public sector pay, and that is quite right.
I don't think we'll have, you know. I don't think we'll have.
Support particularly
what do you
increases
support?
in investment in our NHS, and you'll know the package that we put in place for nurses. But the single best thing that we can do is support the living wage, which this government introduced, and which this government introduced, and which we have now.
The living wage was always a Labour thing. They had to be forced into the living wage
in a row. And I see the Scottish Nationalist Party. Forgive me, Mr. Speaker, the National.
Fuck off, Boris, you total twat. He's doing it deliberately now.
It's up earlier for you.
Are they a national party without being nationalists? Isn't it interesting?
Yeah,
semantic
they're
point,
Republicans. You fucking dope.
I think they're trying to claim that they pioneered the living wage. I don't think that's right, Mr. Speaker.
Where did they say?
It
what the fuck is he talking about? Like
London.
Like Boris has just turned this into a thing. He's just twisted this and trying to say that the SNP are saying they. He's the one that mentioned the living wage.
Massively increased the living wage when they weren't off the starting blocks, Mr. Speaker.
In which case, let's go down to Somerset, who is ready on the starting blocks with Ian Littlegranger.
Ian Littlegranger.
Mr. Speaker,
second last question, unless we've got a sneaky last one.
Defending democracy by pushing ahead with local elections, but here in the land of King Alfred, the people desperately want to give their verdict on Somerset County Council. Which
you know what? Fuck Somerset. That's what I'm going to say. Fuck Somerset. You idiots voted for Jacob Rees-Mogg. You can kiss my ass for all I care. Any area that votes someone like Jacob Rees-Mogg into power can just go suck a million fat ones for all I care. Idiots.
Who understands history more than most of us, not agree the time has come to put our county back together, and that we have the whole of Somerset being looked after by Somerset. I know King Arthur would approve of it, and I know
King Arthur. Fuck King Arthur. King Arthur. King Arthur. Is King Arthur even a real king? Was that not like a fairy story, like in the Sword and the Stone and shit? He's not even a real person.
Who's a great advocate of
who's a great fucking wanker. What the hell?
I thank him for what he's doing. He's raised this.
No, he really.
With me.
You're going to see even more SNP hit because Tories are absolutely shitting it about May because they're going to lose Scotland completely, and everything in Scotland's just going to turn into an independence debate.
Form of government, local government, is that they.
Somerset, everyone. King Arthur.
Let's head for our final question.
Final
from
question.
Northern Ireland with Gregory Campbell.
Northern Ireland get one question today. What the fuck?
Mr. Speaker.
Oh,
Minister,
hear that?
Of the problems we warned about over many months before the Northern Ireland Protocol was introduced.
Sorry, it sounds like today the DUP's question is being asked by a fucking literal Cylon. What are you doing?
Last week, when all of us can enjoy free freedom across the
King
nation,
Arthur.
including from GB to NI, as every other independent trading nation enjoys.
I mean, Boris pretty much
yes,
screwed
indeed,
that.
Mr. Speaker, and
he actually understood that.
Absolutely clear to our EU friends and partners that we want.
He's
to
not
make,
listening to this question, either has he?
Work,
He's not listening.
It is also
he's just waffling.
Essential that there should be untrammeled free trade exchange.
Is that even a fucking word? Come on. Untrammeled. Fuck off.
And we will do everything we can to ensure that is
untrammeled is not a word. It is a word.
I said in the chamber.
Untrammeled. Not derived of freedom or action or expression or rejected or hampered. What?
Of the protocol, if that is necessary.
I'm suspending the House for 3 minutes
and
to enable the necessary arrangements.
They are suspending the House. That was Prime Minister's questions today. Well, that was an interesting one. Whoa, let's go back to this one. Yeah, that big screen. Why not? I am actually going to give Kier Starmer the win today. I think Kier Starmer won. He asked some. I mean, there were easy questions. There were sitters. You know, like there were sitters. There were open goals. They were there to be asked, and he asked them. He should have asked them. He asked them. He asked the right questions, and he didn't get answers to them, which just means they were definitely the right questions. You know, Kieth came that close to saying fuck business in the House of Commons. That close. We were so close. Alas, he referenced it. He went there, but he didn't say it. One of these days we're going to see, someone's going to say fuck in the House of Commons, and we're going to be here to see it live. I thought it was all right. You know what I mean? Towards the end of the session, it was blatant that Boris Johnson was not listening to what was happening. That question from the Eastbourne MP was just disgusting. Like, her question was all about, we want to stop taking homeless people from other towns. Like, well, they're homeless in that town because there's nowhere to be helped. That's why they're being sent to you. Like Teo Wright said, it is NIMBYism on a level we rarely see in the UK or in politics. It was pretty fucking disgusting, if I am honest. So,